Hey, French Tooth, it's me, and I have with me here Tiny Adventure. He wanted to say hi to all the kids, and he got weighed this morning, and he is no longer tiny. He is over 11 pounds, and that's in less than 6 months, so who knows what he's going to do with the rest of his life. I wanted to make you guys a video so that you could hear the proper pronunciations of the house vocabulary that you've been going over this week. I know there's a lot of vocabulary on there. That's why I tried to break it up a little bit for you guys to split up the work, and I hope you were able to get the vocabulary that way without having to look up every single word. Normally, when I'm not off being sick and injured, I can go through this vocabulary at my leisure with the French twos, and usually this will take 2 to 3 days to go through. So I am sorry that you guys had to do so much on your own, but I guess it's good practice for learning how to use the dictionary properly and also for learning how to use references such as word reference. So what we'll do here, I know you've already got the meanings of all of these words. I do just have a few little informational bits that I want to give you about certain words, but mainly what we're going to do right now is just learn how to pronounce all of these words. So I'll try to go a little bit more slowly and allow you guys time to pronounce the words in between me pronouncing the words. And as you probably already know, these correspond with the blanks on the picture pages, the ones that I had printed out from enchantedlearning.com for you. And some of them, they didn't have the lines, so you would have to draw them in yourself. But let's just get started and go through these. And how I'd like to do these is by category, and we'll start on the left-hand side and go down, and then we'll go to the right-hand column and go down. Oh, there goes Tiny, and go down again. I'm sorry also if you hear weird crunching or jingling sounds in the background. To get the other cats to go out of the frame of the camera, I had to put treats in their puzzle that dispenses treats when they knock it. So, and Tiny doesn't eat treats, so he doesn't like to snack between meals. All right, so let's get started with the very first category here. So that is the category of l'extérieur de la maison. So the exterior of the house, if you were to drive up to the house, what you're going to see from the outside. And we'll start right through this list, and you'll notice I did put these lists in alphabetical order rather than in the order that you would see them, just to make it slightly easier to deal with because it is a large group of vocabulary. We'll start with the very first word there, and it is pronounced l'aller. L'aller. And that is the word that I wanted to give you guys some information on. Obviously, it is a false cognate or a false friend to English because in English that word we would think would mean alley, you know, the little road right behind a house. But obviously it does not mean that. It means driveway in English. All right, on to our next word, mailbox. It is la boîte aux lettres. La boîte aux lettres. So the box for letters, basically. Box that the letters would go into. I have the wrong copy of this. There is my copy of it. All right, on to the chimney. That is la cheminée. La cheminée. And then you have the word fence. That is la clôture. La clôture. And you'll notice la clôture has an accent in it. It has the accent circumflex telling you to lengthen that vowel. That's why we say clôture. It's a pretty long vowel in there. I had to include the word hill on this list because it was on the page from enchantedlearning.com. And it's always good to know more vocabulary, I suppose. So the word hill is la colline. La colline. And then we have window is a word you've known since French 1. La fenêtre. La fenêtre. And door is another word you've known since French 1. La porte. La porte. Then garage. Le garage. Le garage. Our next term, I put two terms there because I have heard people in France say both. It's sort of, I think, as a regionalism. So people in the north say one, people in the south say the other. And in English, we have the same. Some people call it a yard, other people call it a lawn. But either way, you can use either word sort of interchangeably. The first one there is le gazon, le gazon, and then la pelouse, la pelouse. Interesting that it's the same thing with two terms and one is masculine, one is feminine. That kind of goes to show that gender really is very fluid and not really related to it's related to the word, not to the object itself. The next word also has, I've heard people call it two different ways, and we might say it two different ways in English. Some people say the front steps or the front step. Some people say the stoop. I've heard both in English, and I've heard both of these in French as well. The first one there, le perron. Le perron. And then les marches. Les marches. You can see that's related to the verb marcher, to walk. And it's interesting that that is a separate word from the word for stairs. So this is a type of stairs, just small steps to get up into the house. All right, onto the roof of the house. That is le toit. Le toit. You'll notice that's a homonym to the number 3. Sounds the same, toit and toit, but obviously two different meanings. And the last one there, sidewalk, is le trottoir. Le trottoir. All right, and that completes the exterior of the house. The next category there is for the bedroom, and that is pronounced la chambre à coucher. La chambre à coucher. Now, some people will simply abbreviate that and say just la chambre, and it's absolutely fine if you prefer to do it that way. That's the way I speak. But I do know that it's kind of like saying go to your room or go to your bedroom. In English, we do really the same thing. The first word there, so chest of drawers or armoire, something that has drawers that you pull out. That is called la commode. La commode. And that's you pull the drawers out and put clothes inside of it. Lots of different ways to say that in English, but in French it's la commode. All right, on to the word blanket. That is la couverture. La couverture. And the next term, again, two terms, same exact thing. So the nightstand or the bedside table, the place where you put your lamp and where you set your phone overnight. It could be called le chevet de nuit. Le chevet de nuit. Or some people simply call it la table de nuit. La table de nuit. And obviously you guys know the word table and you know the word night, so it makes sense. Table de nuit, table of night, because it's at night that you usually see that table and you put your stuff on it. Okay, on to the word sheet. That is le drap. Le drap. And of course the P is silent because we are always careful, and if a word ends in a consonant other than C, R, F, or L, we don't pronounce it. So dra ends in a P, therefore it's not pronounced. All right, on to the word clock. That is l'horloge. L'horloge. You'll see that this noun is lighted, of course, because it begins with a silent H. Um, we all know that when a word begins with an H, it's going to be a silent H unless there's an indication in the dictionary that it's an aspirated H, which is incredibly rare. Occasionally will occur, and if it does occur, I will let you know about it. But that is not the case here. This is just a regular old one, so we do elide your definite article in front of it. And again, that is pronounced l'horloge. All right, on to the word for bed. That is le lit. Le lit. And you might remember that from when we did fair expressions. There's the fair expression faire le lit, to make the bed. Makes sense now. I love this next word. It's so interesting, the history behind the word. But the word for pillow in French is l'oreiller. L'oreiller. And I think it's so interesting because the root of that word is oreille, which is a body part. And it's this body part right here. In English, we say when you lay down, you lay your head down to go to sleep. But the French don't have that expression. They say you lay your ear down. And so it makes sense that they would say you lay your ear onto the ear holder, the pillow. L'oreiller. And the last one in that group there is carpet or rug, and that is le tapis. Le tapis. Um, in general, in France, you don't see a lot of what we have here in America as far as wall-to-wall carpeting. Typically, they have hard floors, whether that be a wooden floor or a linoleum type or other hard surface, and then they use throw rugs. And so that's a tapis really refers more to something that you can unroll and move rather than carpet that goes wall to wall. All right. Our last category on this column is the kitchen, and that, of course, is la cuisine. La cuisine. And you might remember also from doing fair expressions that there is a fair expression, faire la cuisine, which means to cook. And it's interesting that the word cuisine in French has so many different meanings. It can mean kitchen, it can mean cooking, the act of doing cooking, or it can mean food itself, like cuisine, a dining experience. So pretty interesting word there. And we've got several terms inside of the kitchen that we gotta know. First up there is going to be the word for the stove or the cooktop, basically the thing with the burners on it. And that is la cuisinière. La cuisinière. La cuisinière. Got it? It was a long word. All the ones in the kitchen are so long. I don't know why. Our next word up there is freezer, and that is le congélateur. Le congélateur. Frozen food is becoming a lot more popular in France than it had been in previous decades, and a lot of French homes are getting sort of a secondary appliance, the deep freeze type item, where it's laid out flat and you lift it up rather than a side by side. Most refrigerators in France don't have a freezer attached to them, or if they do, it's just a teeny tiny little, just for the ice trays type of thing that you couldn't even fit ice cream into because the standalone freezers have become so popular. But our next word there, and this means shelves, but you also learned it in the school unit last year, and there you learned that the meaning was bookcase. So you can see that it can mean different types of shelves, and of course that is l'étagère. L'étagère. On to the kitchen sink. Another thing that I think is so interesting that in French we have separate words for kitchen sink and bathroom sink. Um, in English, you have to say kitchen or bathroom, but there's a totally different word for it in French, so that's kind of cool and convenient, I think. But anyway, that is pronounced l'évier, l'évier. And the next word, oven, is le four, le four. Then you've got toaster, a favorite word of mine. I have so many favorite words, but this one is really cool. And it is pronounced le grille-pain, le grille-pain. And I love that word because I love how it's put together. Grille comes from a verb, griller, which would be to grill or toast, and pain is bread. So it's literally a bread griller, a bread toaster. And incidentally, while living in France, I went through not one, not two, but three toasters because apparently I'm extremely hard on toasters. I don't know. I stopped buying them name brand after a while and just went for the Salvation Army to get the cheapest one. And that was the one that lasted. Um, all right, on to everybody's favorite appliance, the microwave. And that is le micro-ondes. Le micro-ondes. And it's important on that word to get the correct gender because if you were to say la micro-onde, that means microwave as in science, a wave of particles that's microscopic or I, I'm really not sure what a microwave is. I just know you're not supposed to stand in front of it while it's going. Evan, I know that you're probably shaking your head right now, but anyway, hold your things. Um, all right, on to the pantry or the cabinet where you would store the food. And that is le placard de cuisine. Le placard de cuisine. So that's a I'm totally losing my train of thought here. I haven't been in front of you guys in so long. That is uh, a word that's been, it's a combination word. I'll think of the word for that here momentarily. But it literally means the closet of the kitchen, which some houses there is a closet type place where you would keep your food. In other houses like mine, I just have cabinets, but it's the same word for both. The word is compound noun that I was trying to think of. All right, the last word on the kitchen list is a really long word. I'm sorry, it's so long to say, but there's good news about it. Anyway, it's refrigerator, and in French it is pronounced le réfrigérateur. Le réfrigérateur. I know, that's a lot of syllables. But the good news is the French don't like to say that word either because it has so many syllables, and so they have shortened it to call it le frigo. Just like how in English we say fridge instead of refrigerator. So I am totally okay even when you're doing the project for this unit if you call it le frigo because I personally never call it réfrigérateur. It's just too long to say, too many syllables, too many opportunities for your tongue to do weird things with the R and the accents. So if you want to call it le frigo, le frigo, that is a-okay with me, and I personally would do the same, and I do the same. All right, I'm going to stop here so I can upload this part of the video, and I'll be back in just a moment to do the second column here. I think the YouTube will do a little bit easier if I do the shorter chunks of video. All right, so I'll be back in just a moment.